Hi, I'm Rui Pereira da Costa, organizer of the International Endo Masters 2016. Next lecture will be from a very dear friend, Sérgio Quaresma, from Portugal. Sérgio is a member of my team, he's always involved in my courses and all our projects related to endodontics. He's often a buddy in my endo adventures abroad and a truly fun guy to be around. Sérgio graduated in Fernando Pessoa University in Oporto, where I was lucky to be one of his endodontic teachers. Soon after his graduation, he moved to Lisbon and I invited him to work in my clinical office, starting off as a general practitioner, but always keen on learning more in endodontics. In 2009, he set off to do a master's degree in endodontics in the International University of Catalonia in Barcelona, Spain, where I was again his teacher. I guess Sergio just cannot get rid of me. Well, not exactly. He now works at his own office in the center of Lisbon, and I can say he's a rising star in the world of endodontics. He has already several published articles in peer-reviewed journals. He is since 2011 an invited teacher at the postgraduation program of endodontics in the University of Catalonia in Barcelona, and even though we've been friends for ages, I was even one of his best men at his wedding, I believe Sérgio Quaresma truly earned the right to figure among all the endomasters of this Congress. His presentation will be about one of the biggest challenges in daily practice, the NB2 canal. So, let's learn everything on how to locate and manage it. Hope you enjoy.
Castelo, ponho o cotovelo.
Em Alfama, descanso o olhar. E assim desfaço o novelo de azul e mar. À ribeira eu encosto a cabeça, almofada na cama do Tejo,
Com lençóis bordados à pressa.
na cambreia de beijo. Lisboa, menina e moça, menina
Da luz que os meus olhos veem.
Hello everyone, my name is Sérgio André Quaresma. Like you see, I'm from the beautiful city of Lisbon, Portugal. I would like to thank Rui Pereira da Costa for the invitation to this biggest congress online, the Endo Masters 2016. It's fantastic to be here and to share with you my love and my passion for the endo. I have my private practice on Lisbon, where I have my clinic and where I made all my endodontic treatments. I also made my master's degree in the University International of Catalonia, where I have been with such a great masters that I have the possibility of give some and share the knowledge with them. I also give, I'm assistant professor in that university. I also give courses with 4 friends. They are the friends that I have for life, and I give all over the Portugal and also in other countries courses with them. So let's start my presentation. Let's speak about something really common, but that it's very difficult to find and it's more difficult to work. I divide my presentation in 3 questions. The first one is, what do we know? How do we find it? And how do we work? It's well recognized and universally accepted that a successful outcome in endodontics treatment essentially depends on 3 factors: the cleaning and shaping, the disinfection, and the 3-dimensional obturation. Although it's impossible to determine which one of these 3 factors is most important. We are now able to identify and to treat many more of these complexities than in the past, leading to great opportunities for successful endodontic outcomes. A prime example of this elevated standard may be found in the mesiobuccal root of the maxillary molars. Clinicians should consider treating these roots as if they always have two canals until proven otherwise. Undetected root canals are a major reason for the endodontic failure, and the hidden second mesiobuccal is found in more than 94% of the cases. About the internal tooth anatomy. The mesiobuccal root has generated more research and clinical investigation than any other root in the mouth. Okay? Traditionally, the access cavity has been prepared in relation to the occlusal anatomy. We have to have an idea about the internal tooth anatomy because it's this one who's going to dictate the access shape. When we are preparing the access cavity, we have to have a 3D dimension capacity to make a visualization of the position of the pulp space in the tooth. So we can reach the optimal result, because it's difficult to reach the optimal result if the access is not prepared properly. The knowledge of the complexity of the tooth canal is essential to understand the principles and the problems that we are going to find in the access preparation. The complexity of the root canal system is best understood by the integration of formative knowledge of the tooth anatomy and the interpretation of radiographic documentation. The mesiobuccal root is associated in the highest degree of anatomic variability. The upper molar and the lower first molar are the ones that are most required to endodontic therapy. The nature it was prodigious. We all must be aware of the anatomic variations of each tooth. The mesiobuccal root is the root that has the highest degree of variability, anatomical variability. The upper and the lower molar are the ones who have more required therapy. It's important to determining the pulp space morphology to know the pulp chamber and the location of the root canal orifices. So, it is required to make multiple pre-treatment radiographs, CBCTs, and the examination of the tooth anatomy on the coronal, cervical, and root levels. We should have the familiarity with the anatomy of the tooth to be treated. Should be as completed as possible. A part of clinical observation, such familiarity may be acquired from close examination of preoperative radiographs taken with at least two different views. Like in this example that you can see, that the first image you can think that it's 3 canals, probably, but with the inclination of the tube, it's going to give you and to detect the variability of the root. So, of course, there are 4 canals. Like in this example, the inclination of the tube X-ray influences the ability to detect the variability anatomy present in the root canal systems. Like you see here, with this image, you can think that probably we have 3 canals, okay? But if you change the position of the tube, you can see that they are 4. This is another example of the inclination of the tube, that you are seeing that the implant it's very near to the root, but with a different angulation you can see that it's the implant is on the comfort zone. We also should know that interpretation of the radiographies may not always result in the correct morphology assessment, particularly because we only get the buccal palatal view because it's the only one that it's taken. The CBCT, it was an important tool, and a high technology tool, very important to us. I'm not going to extend a lot speaking about the CBCT because it's going to be a colleague of mine that is going to make a lecture about CBCT. But just you to know, CBCT help us. Several studies have suggested different laboratories and clinical methods to detect the MB2 root canal in maxillary molars. Adjunctive tools such as magnificent loupes, dental operating microscopes, orthogonal and angled radiographs are commonly used to facilitate the detection of the MB2. However, these methods are not able to detect the MB2 canals reliably. On the diagnosis of the presence of apical lesions, to detect the root canal resorptions, root canal fractures, to detect, and here it's important you to know, the number of canals. When we are trying to find the MB2, here we are going to find with the help of the CBCT, and it also helps us to estimate the root canal length. But the CBCT has its limitations, of course. Every technology has a little bit of limitations, and here are the scatter and bin hardening caused by the high density of neighboring structures and materials like crowns, bridges, implants, fillings, intracanal posts, separated files, and also the presence of striking artifacts can compromise the scan quality. The CBCT had a higher sensitivity and specificity compared with the radiographic examination for the detection of the MB2 canal. The 0.2 voxel size is appropriated to the teeth with the MB1 filling. It's important to know that comparing the CBCT with the radiograph just gives us the two-dimensional images, and it gives us a lot of false negatives. Okay? The small volume delivers a low radiation dose that may be suggested for the endodontic imaging of only one or two neighboring teeth because the FOV is similar to the size of the conventional periapical radiographs. The radiation dose of the small volume, the CBCT scanner, is similar, and this is very important to know, from 2 to 7 standard periapical radiographs, whereas the radiation dose of a large volume scanner is similar to that of the full mouth series of periapical radiations. Traditionally, SS cavities have been prepared in relation to occlusal anatomy, but the root may not be perpendicular to the occlusal surface of the tooth. This may explain the occurrence of some procedural errors. So, we cannot trust on the occlusal anatomy. It's dangerous to trust. The morphology can change as the crown is destroyed by caries or reconstructed with very different restorative materials. Imagine that you see something that you are used to see, something that you, during your treatments, during your excess cavity, you are used to make. You learn on the books, on the articles, and you see that it should be made by this way. But sometimes are not like that, and sometimes we have surprises, and we have to adapt the surprise and our knowledge and our information to make the alteration of the pre-geometric shape. The SS cavity must not assume a predetermined geometric shape. It's important you to know about that. You should know also that the anatomy of the pulp chamber floor is who is going to determine the shape of the excess cavity. The cavity does not need to remain unaltered during the treatment, okay? You could make different positions. You could make go more mesially, distal, palatal, wherever you want during your treatment. You should not make that geometric shape all over the treatment, because sometimes you can make the modification anytime if the need arises to be done. The access design depends not only on the orifice location, but also on the position and on the curvature of the canal. The failure to follow these guidelines result on the treatment procedures errors like root perforation, as you know, the misdirection of the instrument of the main canal, making a ledge formation, instrument separation, the creation of an incorrect canal shape, like apical transportation. And you should remove all the defective restorations, old metallic restorations and decays before you entering in the canal system. You should also, if it's possible, the best way to treat is to make the build-up. You should make the walls like a pre-endo restorative, okay? And then start to make your treatment. Hidden caries or fractures are often identified, and the ability to determine the restorability of the tooth is enhanced. Krashner and Ranko found that the segmental enamel junction was the most important anatomic landmark for determining the location of the pulp chamber and the root canal orifices. They demonstrate the existence of specific and consistent anatomy of the pulp chamber floor. They put it some guidelines, and one of them, of the guidelines, you probably have heard, it's the Law of Centrality. The floor of the pulp chamber, it's always like you see, it's always located in the center of the tooth at the level of the segmental enamel junction. The other guideline that you should know, it's the Law of Symmetry. And you can imagine making a line in the direction, like you see, in the direction of mesial to distal. Then you cross a perpendicular line to this direction, and it's like a mirror. Okay, the law of symmetry is like a mirror. You can open, and the orifices are going to be on the part of the mirror. Okay, the other law, it's easier because it's the law of the color change. The pulp chamber floor, it's always darker in color than in the walls. Okay, that's it's easy one to know, and you can see, like in these images, the difference of colors between the what I was saying. The other one, the last one that I want you to know and to understand, it's the law of the orifice location. Okay, the orifices are always located on the junction of the walls and the floor, at the angles of the floor wall junction, and in the terminus of the root development fusion lines. Like the octopus, the MB2, it's very tricky. Okay? It's very difficult, it's very complex, and we have some classifications to know about it. Okay, I'm going to talk about some of them in some articles that I know you to know. And the first ones, it begins like the Wayne classification. The Wayne classification has been used to describe 4 common configurations of the maxillary MB root. I'm just going to talk about 4 of these types. Okay, I'm not going to talk about all of them because you know all of them, but I'm just talking, just you to know. The type 1, it's a single canal from orifice to apex, as you see. The type 2, it has 2 orifices that converge to one. The type 3 as separated and distinct canals from orifice to apex. And the last one that I'm going to talk, it's the type 4 that begins as one canal and diverges into separated canals. The other thing that I'm going to talk about is this very important for me, very important article from Briseño and Paquet, that they in this study aims to describe the root canal system configuration and his relationship with the foramina of the maxillary first molars. And they propose a universal logic 4-digit code for the root canal configuration codification system through the results that they obtain. The configuration proposed is it was similar to the study proposed by Vertucci, and each root it was divided, and this is very important. They divided each root into thirds, allowing for the detailed description of the root canal path from the coronal to the apical third. The image is from the article from Briseño, and as you can see, there is the division. As you can see, the division of the apical, the coronal for apical thirds, and the numbers, it defines if you have one canal or the division to two canals. The most frequently root canal configuration found on this article, it was the MB2 and the MB1 together. It was the 1, 1, 1 foramina 1. Okay? It was 46% that they found. They also found 25% in this example that I'm showing and 10% on this other example. Here at this moment you are thinking that, yeah, probably this kind of configurations were the most common that I find it. And also for me, seeing this article and seeing the type of configurations, it was for me also the same idea. I think that the article it's very good, and the kind of configurations that they found, for me it's probably the same. I hope not to see this kind of configurations, okay, because it's a mess and it's terrible to us, but if they appear, I will try to treat the best way. This graphic shows you that this article, it's like the configuration is like the same from the Vertucci article. Okay, you can see the values. It was not very different that they achieved from the Vertucci article. The difference from the Vertucci article, it's the alphanumeric configuration, because it's in Vertucci it's Roman, and here it's alphanumeric. It's all the different from one to another. You also have to know and to have in mind that the isthmus exists. The isthmus prevalence is very big. It's from 30 to 50%. Here they are in the middle and the apical thirds of the root. At this part of the presentation, we know about the internal anatomy, all the complexities of the tooth, the classification, the different configurations, but it's very important. It probably is something that you have on your clinic. The question is, how do we find it? Okay, you know everything, but I cannot find it. So we are starting to give some ideas about how to find it. Your eyes, you know that your eyes will recognize what your brain knows, and he will see what he wants to see, but he will not see what he doesn't know. So the first part, we are talking about knowing, and now I'm going to enter in the part of the localization. Okay, you have some ideas. It's in mesial, distal, it's from mesial to palatal, but I give you the correct guidelines you to know, and probably you are going to find all the MB2s. Okay, the MB2, it's mesial to align, draw between the MB1 and the palatal, and the MB2 it's often located at the end of the tail white line. Okay? I don't know if you have the idea, but it's mesial to or directly to a line between the mesial buccal and the palatal orifices, within 3.5 millimeters palatally and 2 millimeters mesially to the mesiobuccal orifices. Like you see in this line that I have drawn here, you can see the MB1, and at the end of the line it's the MB2. It's helpful to search for a small depression at this level and started to work in this position. The mean values between the MB1 and the MB2 are usually between 147 and 2.31 millimeters. Okay, with this idea and with these measures, probably you are going to have a guideline to start it to work. Like this example that you can see, the MB2 is under this area that you are seeing here. Okay, and once you have found, how can I work it? Okay, in this case you can work it with the ultrasonic tips before you enter with the files, or you can also work with files, but it's not the best way to treat. Okay, after working with the ultrasonic tips, you see much best way the MB2, like you see on this image. But you have to have care with the mouse hole effect. The mouse hole effect, it's when you make an extension of an orifice into the axial wall. It's an internal under extension that doesn't allow to have the straight line to access to the orifice. You should know that the MB2 is palatal to MB1 for sure. Okay, you have to have clear this idea. There is 2/4 distance between the palatal and the MB1, and usually very narrow and obscurate dentine overlying. Okay, it's a dentine shelf that the MB1 has, and you have to work it during your treatment. Walcott, in his article, evaluate that there was significant differences between the initial treatments and the retreatments. The incidence of the MB2 in molar, first molar retreatments, it was 66%, imagine, 66% compared with the 68 incidence of the initial treatments. It's very big. It's a quite difference that Walcott found, and you should also know that the negotiating and treating the MB2 can improve the long-term prognosis. Okay, making a resume of this article, you can see that it was a high incidence of the MB2 found in retreatments, saying that you have a problem long-term prognosis if you cannot find it. So started to find it. It's very important to find the MB2, and Walcott in this article defined like that. Okay, this is an example that you can see. It's a retreatment. It was a retreatment because the MB2 it wasn't found, but with the lines and with the guidelines that I was talking to you before, you could imagine that the MB2 it's where? You can put it in your computer, the line. Oh, it's here. Okay, it's here. The line of the MB2 to the MB1, it's this. Okay, and the MB2, it's here. Okay, you can see the difference, the distance from the MB1 to the palatal, and the measures that I was saying to you. After you see the MB2, I put it this image to see it better. Okay, here, and I show you after working. Okay, after work, you can work. I can say to you that I prefer before starting to work the MB1. I work and the MB1 is the principal orifice, the principal canal to me. Okay, I work the MB1 and then I go to the MB2. Because after work the MB1, I can work the MB2 better. So I find the MB2, it's because it was the problem on this case, and after finding out the MB2, I work the MB1 and then I come back to the MB2. Several authors have reported a higher success rate in the identification and treatment of these canals, the MB2 canal, when we are using this technology. This technology is not new. The use of the magnification is something that it's well reported all over the years, and the magnification provides a superior and magnification, of course, and increase the lighting and enhance the visibility. Okay, magnification helps on the SS cavity. It's best prepared by the use of the magnification with the appropriate light source. It will improve the identification of the extra canals, being superior to the use of the naked eye and magnifying loops from this assessment. Like Stropko in these articles, the high percentage that it was found due to the utilization of the microscope. Without the use of the microscope, it was be impossible to observe the MB2 orifices without using the microscope. Also, the microscope, as you know, improves the detection of the MB2s for more than 19%. Okay, it's a high percentage that when you are thinking that you cannot find, if with the use of the magnification, you are mostly a part of the canals. Okay, you can see all over the canals. You also have to know that illumination provides the use of many magnification tools, enhance the vision, and allows the clinician to see internal dentin color changes and to see the landmarks that may not be visible to the unaided eye, include previously hidden cracks, decays, and of course hidden canals. That it's the theme that we are here talking. The cracks, like you can see on this film, okay, this crack, it was from coronal and entered on the canal. The treatment on this case, it was the extraction, because the extension of the crack, it was very big, but it was just possible with the use of magnification, of course. So at this point we know that it exists, okay, the MB2 exists, okay. How can we find it? We also know, but the most difficult part, it's how can we work it, okay? Because for me, the difficult part is not to find it, because with all the tools that I was talking before, we can find it. The most difficult part, it's how can we work it? So to work it, we know you can work it with the burrs. The burrs that I prefer to use, I'm going to tell you, it's the Muller burr and the LEN. Okay, for me, it's at the beginning part, it's very important burrs to be used. Okay, and you can also use the Endodontic Explorer, and in this part, the Endodontic Explorer, like the micro opener and the endo file instrument, I think it's very important. And when you are using the magnification and you don't need nothing to pass on front of you during the work with the magnification, these kind of tools are very important. And these kind of tools are going to help you to starting to touching on the MB2. We also have the ultrasonic tips, are a lot of kind of ultrasonic tips. You can find in the market a lot of manufacturers that work the ultrasonic tips. I like the buck tips. It was the first ones that I started to work. I also worked with the Pro Ultra. It was some very important tips in a part of my life that I started to work better with the ultrasonic tips, because there is a part of your life that you started to understand more the use of the ultrasonic tips, and with the Pro Ultra it was a change on my life when I started to work with the Pro Ultra. And now I work easily because it's also cheaper, this kind of ultrasonic tips, and for me they are very, very, very good. The Star Axis, okay, I started to work with the 1, 2 and 3. I work with both of them. The one, I can use it on the beginning of the treatment, then I can pass to the 2 or 3, but these 3 are the most that I work. I also work with the EndoCheck. The EndoCheck is something that I work a lot. The EndoCheck is this part. Okay, you can check it on the internet. You can put it the EndoCheck. You are going to find these references. Okay, and the EndoCheck, it's something that you can put it a K file. It's an easiest way to work the canals. And once you started to work with the EndoCheck, you are going to enjoy. And this is one of my tips. Try to use the EndoCheck. The EndoCheck, you can put it in any chair you want it to work, and look it for EndoCheck, and you are going to like it. Before negotiating the canal, it's always necessary to open that angle that I was talking before, to remove from the mesial wall of the SS cavity the shelf of dentin. It's usually when it's hiding the orifice of the canal. In order to get the straight line to access to the root canal, okay, you should, it's like I was also talking before, the mouse hole effect, okay? And if you done it easily, safely and efficiently, it's with the ultrasonic tips, okay? It's easier to make all these steps with ultrasonic tips. So at this part, you should understand it, you should define a protocol. A protocol, it's like, you can make it a roadmap, you can know that you should remove the mesial shelf, you can highlight, you can through, you can make it the bubble test, you can use it the chelate like the EDTA, and you should not forget the isthmus. The isthmus, I can begin with the last one. The isthmus, you can work it with the EndoCheck, okay? You can work it with the file, put it on the EndoCheck. It's very easily to work it. The chelates and the bubble test, you can use it. The EDTA, you can use it. The hypochlorite to see, because the bubble test is something very important, because when you put it, the irrigant on the cavity, you are going to see some bubbles, and then after you see the bubbles, you are going to see where is the canal. Okay, remove the mesial shelf is something that you are seeing that during my presentation. I'm always talking about, because it's very important, because once you don't remove the mesial shelf, you are not going to find the MB2, and the roadmap, it was defined before by the laws of Krasner and Renko, and so at this time, with the definition of the protocol, we have in your mind what kind of ideas and what kind of steps you should make during your treatment. In this case, you can see you have a calcification, okay, and most of the obstructions can be eliminated with the ultrasonic tips, okay. You can work it very easily. I think that here it's an example of the work with the star axis. I also put it here, a micro opener, to see where are the canals, and then I started again to work it, the canals. This is another example, okay, that you have to work very gently, and you have to remove the shelf, the mesial shelf, like I'm making at this part. The orifice of the mesiobuccal inclination as a mesiobuccal inclination on the pulp floor, because it's the angle and it's very difficult to negotiate, okay. This image you have seen before, okay. There is the MB2. Here it's easier because it's aligned, okay. Now I put it another kind of tip, okay, and then I started to work in that line. This is another example. There was a connection between the canals, okay, the MB2 and the MB1. I put it the irrigation, and then the liquid, it was pumping from the another canal, okay. I make the instrumentation of the MB1 until the end, okay. I put it the gutta-percha cone in the canal, and then I put it a file to see where is the connection between the MB1 and the MB2. And this is the image that you are seeing now, okay? At this point, when you know where is the connection, you are going to know that you should just work the MB2 until the point of connection. You don't need it to go farther than this point, okay? You work it with the MB1, you know they are connected, so you work until this point of connection. It's easier, it's a tip that you are going to have during your life. I think it's easier, and then with this idea of the connection, you probably are not going to fracture more files. It's very, very good. Here you can see the kind of configuration that I was talking, okay? And the configurations that Briseño talked in his article, okay? Take this tip. It's important to you to understand the connection, where you can make the instrumentation, and where can you stop it. Well, almost at the end of the presentation, okay? I'm sure for you. Here I present the article from my good friend Mário Zuolo from Brazil, his wife Maria Carvalho and Gustavo de Deus. This article, it was the support of my private practice, okay? Because they put it on an article, something that I make in my clinic. The use of the reciproc for the instrumentation of the MB2. The use of the reciproc, I use it on the retreatments and very gentle on the negotiation of the MB2. This article, they just go with the MB2, the reciproc. Sometimes I begin with a C pilot or another file, not rightly the reciproc, or in other cases I begin directly with the reciproc. It was very good to them to put it on the article, something that I think that in every parts of the world people are making. In this case, I'm going to show you what I was talking before. I can show you that I was working with ultrasonic tips, then with the Explorer. I put it here, the C pilot, but at this part it was not entering in the canal, and I started to work with the reciproc, okay? At this part you should be very gentle, and the reciproc should not enter more than 2-3 millimeters, okay? Because you probably could break it. At this part it was during a long time of treatment, and I was working easily in the canal, okay? This was a movie that I was making the edition, and then you can see that the canal, it was easy to enter. I'm going to show you some cases, okay? This is like a resume of those kind of configurations that we were talking during the presentation, just you to see that in my practice I have that kind of configurations that I was talking before. I'm going to start with this image. It's a retreatment. It was difficult, as you can see, to remove the crown. Okay, I removed the crown, and it was the measure of buccal root. You can see that it was short. You can see that has some problems, as the configuration of the canal it's different. You make another angulation, you can see probably that it's not so short, but it was painful for the patient. We started the work and we started to remove the crown. I removed the crown with a WAM key. Okay, I like it a lot to use the WAM key. I use in this case to remove the crown. I removed the crown. I started to make the instrumentation of the canals. These canals, it was instrumentated with ProTaper next. Okay, and this is the final result. You can see that this configuration, it's the 1 foramina 1. Okay, it was more easier. It was difficult to reach the canals because of the crown, but after that it was not so difficult, and the result, I think it was very good. This is another case. It was a patient with a big caries. We started to make the treatment. It was a usual treatment. It was made with ProTaper, also with ProTaper next. I finished with the X3 in the palatal, in the distal, with the X2 in the mesials, and the configuration of this canal, it was very good because it was the 2, 2, 2, and in the apical part there are also 2. This one, it was also instrumentated with an hybrid technique. I started to work with the reciproc, then I put it the ProTaper next, because you can change starting to use one file and then pass to the other file. It's also a configuration at the last part of 2. Okay, this one, it was a treatment. It was a treatment that the patient reached my clinic with the image that you can see. It was the treatment. It was finished 2 weeks ago when she reached on my clinic, and I asked, "It's the treatment finished?" "Oh, yes. Now I'm going to start to make the build-up." And then I asked, "No, you should make the retreatment." I make the retreatment as you are seeing. I use in this case the reciproc. I use the ultrasonic tips. Then I press the reciproc, and then it was the configuration of 1. Okay, it was easier to me to make the obturation because with 1 canal it's easier. You have some doubts at the beginning if it's going to be 1 or 2, but then we have completely sure radiographs, CBCT if it's necessary, and you have sure that it's just 1, you make the obturation, and the result, I think it was very good. Another case is this one. It was also retreatment. I think that the people who are endodontists, I think that they know that you make more retreatments than usual treatments, and I'm not different from you. In this case, you are going to see a lot of retreatments in my presentation. It's also a retreatment. They had some difficulties to work the MB root. I think the problem, it was the access. Okay, they didn't reach the canal because the access, it was not well done. After I make the properly access, I've reached the canals. It was 2 to 1, okay, and then in the end it was the result. I think the result, it was good. After you change the design of the access, I think the case, it was done. It was done with ProTaper next, this one. Another retreatment. Now it's different because I have to remove the post, okay? Here I use something that I didn't tell you. The kind of ultrasonic tip that I use in this case. I use in this case the vibro post from BL, because on this kind of posts it's very easy to remove. You can see it also in the internet, the vibro post of BL, okay? After I remove the vibro post, I started to make the root canal treatment. It was made with reciproc in the mesials, and you can also see the configuration that it was 2, 2, and at the apical part 1. Another retreatment, as you can see, my life is to retreat. I think most of your life could be also retreating. I also remove in this case the fiber, the post with the vibro post. It's, like I said before, it's something that I like. I make the instrumentation. Here I had some difficulties because at some point they probably were together. I don't know, I'm not sure that it was perfect, the connection between them, but with the fluent irrigation, I think that the result, it was very good. This was a retreatment also, but it was a different, because it was sent from a colleague of mine that was with problems at the apical part. It was making a transportation. I have to make the access to the last part of the canal. I think I've reached it well. It was done with ProTaper Next, but most of this case it was made by end files. It's because sometimes you need to put it the mechanic files at part and started to use the end files. I think in this case it was successful by the use of the end files. This is also a case with a different configuration, okay? It's not so different from the others because you can see that in my cases the configurations are 2 to 1 or 1, most of them, okay? It was a case with ProTaper Next at the end. I usually could finish with X2, X3, X4. It depends what the calibration, where it stops, okay? I cannot tell you that I'm going to start and I'm going to finish with this kind of file, okay? During the treatment you are going to see, at the part of the calibration you are going to see what the canal gives you, okay? And then you can close it as the canal gives you the information. This is also a treatment that was sent by a colleague because the difficulty that he was thinking previously where to work, it was easily to work with a microscope. I think that with the kind of configuration of the roots, after a good access design, a good access cavity, it was an easy case after all the guidelines that I was talking to you. The configuration, it was the most easier for us. It was the one. These two last cases, okay, are retreatments, but I think that you are already thinking that I was presenting retreatments. These two last cases, I'm going to present this one. This one, it was also I have made the instrumentation with the hybrid technique. I use the reciproc and I use the ProTaper Next, okay, because I don't believe it in a single file. I don't think that it's possible to make an instrumentation with a single file, okay, because in the cases of retreatments, most difficult, it's just to use one file, okay. So I started with the reciproc and then I finished with the ProTaper, also ProTaper Next. This case, it was with larger apical size, okay. this case it was with the 40 and 15, and the configuration it was the 1. Okay, it's like the one that I like. Okay, it's the easier. This last one, also a retreatment, and I have to make some different configurations on the access cavity, because I think that this case it was with a bad prognosis because of the access cavity. It was not well proposed. I made some changes, and after I made some changes, I think that, and you probably know it, that after you can change the design of the access, you probably have won the case. And this it was. I've made my changes. I work also most of the time reciproc, and then I make the last calibration using the ProTaper Next. The configuration it was the 1, and I think the result it was good. Now we have reached the last part of the presentation, the part where I give you the tips and I give you some conclusions. It's the part when you can give the end notes. Okay? For tips, you should always, it's very important, be aware of that. You should always strongly believe that the MB2 is present. Okay? If you have this in mind, you are going to find it. Okay? Start looking the MB2 only after MB1 is completely clean and shaped. Like I said before, it's very important. Completely access, it's mandatory. It's absolutely necessary to reach the MB2. Making the visualization of the pulp chamber anatomy well done, you can make the stabilization of some points, and they are giving some ideas and some references. It's also very important to you. You should know the endodontic anatomy. If you don't know anything about endodontic anatomy, you should not making endodontics. It's something that it's very important to you to be aware. Okay? You have to firmly prove that the isthmus groove with an explorer or with the ultrasonic tips. You have to understand the isthmus. You have to understand at the part of the isthmus are and how can you work it. Okay? Understand the isthmus, you can go further on the prognosis of your teeth. You have to see the root canal bleeding points. It's very important in the part of you are making your assess, seeing the root canal bleeding points, because they are giving some references you to don't be a part of where is the position of the MB2. It's also the use, of course, the magnification. You can start with the loops. If you don't have the microscope in your clinic, there are no microscopes. You can use the loops. It's better that don't have anything, okay? And use the ultrasonic. Use the ultrasonic unit with all. You can use with the special design tips, or you can use with the tip on your chair, but you can know, because using the ultrasonic unit and using the ultrasonic tip is going to give you some confidence. You are going to see and working with such different movements that you are going to make with the burrs. Performing the champagne test, okay? It's one of the most important tests. You should performing the champagne test that I was showing before, and you can see where is the position of the MB2. When you have some difficulties, you could making the staining chamber on the floor with the methylene blue, okay? And you also can use sequential applications of EDTA and alcohol, okay? These two can help you to see much better where is the position of the MB2. So, thank you very much for being here. I hope you enjoy my presentation like I enjoyed to make it for you. I'd like to thank also to my beautiful and fantastic wife for the support and the help that she made on this presentation. Also to Rui Pereira da Costa for being and for making this big Congress online possible. Without you, Rui, it was impossible a Congress like this. You are the master. Thank you very much for that. Also, thank you for my friends Luís Couto Real, António Roma Torres, José Manuel Sacramento, Mário Rito e Diogo Guerreiro for being here in my endo world. Also to my good friend Gonçalo Mourão for helping me on the support. Without you it was impossible to make this video. And I hope I show you the passion that I have for endo, and I hope that some tips that I was giving to you in the future, you are going to be on the Congress, you are going to tell me it was important that you say what you said. For me it's the most important. So enjoy all the Congress. You are going to have fantastic lectures, there are fantastic speakers. So during this week, be there and see the biggest Congress online, the International Endo Masters 2016. Goodbye.